Hey ladies, I have to tell you, I've actually been putting off recording this episode for some time now. Part of it's because it's very personal, and part of it's because I had to work through my own thoughts, feelings about this topic, because the cost of dieting is not just financial, not just your time, your energy, but there's a lot of other things maybe we're not talking about enough when it comes to what happens when we devote years, I'm talking years, 10, 20, 25, 30 years to dieting, and especially the cost I have paid for orthorexia. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I am an intuitive eating counselor, and I'm also a mom to 4. This podcast is not just for mamas, it's for all women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, increase their body trust, and confidence in all of her choices. I believe this show is going to shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. No matter the episode, I want you to walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. So whether you're taking a walk, washing the dishes, or carting kids around, let's dive into the latest episode on the Intuitive Eating Mama podcast. All right, ladies, it was not my intent to super focus on the financial cost of dieting, but I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole here because I was doing research for this episode and I was just getting curious, what are we spending? I mean, I've stopped spending, but I know I was spending a lot when I was deep in my dieting and ultimately disordered eating. So here are just some stats. Take a moment. We might both need some deep breaths after this. So this is from an article in 2022. So this is recent information. It says Americans spend on average $503.05 a month on their health and fitness. So that can include a whole lot of things. That's gym memberships, apps, subscriptions, supplements. I mean, you name it, it's kind of in that realm. This puts them at just over $6,000 a year. And over the span of their adult lives, are you ready? This is the deep breath part. It's over $368,000. $368,000 on health and fitness. That's kind of the overarching is how this article named it. But when you dig deep in what the health and fitness, what that money is being spent on, this is apps, this is devices, this is supplements, this is protein powders, this is, diet, weight loss, tools and everything. I mean, literally everything's in here, everything you can think of. I was stuck just on the globally, this bigger, United States data. Americans spend $33 billion, that's a B, on weight loss products each year. 84% of Americans report using a weight loss supplement, meaning taking something to try to not eat. Try to not eat. This is insane to me. I know I was feeding that number for a very long time, a very, very long time. Okay, it's not where I was gonna go, but I think even thinking about that cost it's kind of overwhelming. It's kind of overwhelming if you've ever just sat down and thought about what have I spent cost-wise. I was talking to a client 2 years ago. We were in this discussion and she's like, Jen, I've been on Weight Watchers for over 25 years. And she had that moment of how much she had spent, even if she wasn't using the app at the time, wasn't going to meetings, wasn't doing all of this. She was still paying that monthly, yearly fee. And she was like, the cost to constantly pursue weight loss.
Now, I want to take this in a different direction because there are other costs that are, I think, even more damaging than the financial cost. The financial cost is insane. I mean, I think we could probably both agree it's insane. But I want to talk about some of the other costs of dieting, one of them being disordered eating. I already said it for myself. There's this like spectrum I want you to picture that goes from normal eating, dieting, to disordered eating, to eating disorders. Do you know that the number one predictor of an eating disorder is dieting? I mean, that alone should make us pause in the least. Just wait a minute. I'm risking developing an eating disorder. I'm grateful that I did not develop an eating disorder, though I still believe in my lifetime I'm going to see orthorexia be diagnosed in the DSM as an eating disorder, but right now it is highly disordered eating. So went from dieting, which is not healthy, to disordered eating. But even just, again, going back to this fact, this statistical fact that the number one predictor of an eating disorder is starting to diet. I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of my biggest issues with intermittent fasting, this idea of putting off your body's natural biological hunger, is the risk of binge eating, the risk of developing binge eating disorder. Think about that. You are saving all of your time to eat for this small window of time. And over time, you're going to create binges. Like, this is one of my concerns, and it's a big one. So some of the other things that maybe you haven't thought about is how dieting affects your metabolism. Your body doesn't understand a diet. It understands feast and it understands famine. And when you're on a diet, it thinks you're in famine. And so what happens over time is your metabolism slows as your body has to really utilize those calories very specifically because you've limited how many you're giving your body. There's a really interesting study about, from that show, The Biggest Loser. And that show, talk about toxic diet culture and disordered eating. Oh my gosh, like my entire body reacts thinking about that show and how we were, praising this. Well, I started wondering years ago, like something's off when I would see these contestants later. And they would talk about how, they can't maintain their weight loss, what they had lost on the show. Well, there was a study on Biggest Loser contestants that found 6 years later, their metabolism was still blunted by an average of 700 calories per day. And then, of course, what made that worse was their muscle mass was lower than their baseline. This was back in 2016, if y'all want to look it up yourself. Remember, to fuel your metabolism, it's kind of like when you put more kindling on a fire. If you take out the wood, you won't have a fire, right? It's going to die down. I have a fireplace. I think about this, every time I'm making this fire, you need to add more wood if I want to keep that fire going, right? That is your body's metabolism. If you don't eat enough food, right, have enough calories, the fire's going to go out. This is what's happening when we diet. So like I said, we can talk about the cost of what happens to your metabolism. You have this you have this inability to even stick with a diet. Look at that for yourself. If you've been dieting 10, 20, 25, 30 years, this is who I talk to. These are the women I am working with. If you think about that and how each diet you go on, it's like less and less time. You just can't sustain it. You think you're the problem, right? Wellness culture, diet culture tells you you're the problem. You can't stick with it. You don't have willpower, when the fact is your body is desperately trying to keep you alive. So those diet spans get shorter. Your metabolism is not as strong. You risk developing disordered eating, an eating disorder. And that's not even considering the impact your dieting has on those around you, like your children. when they hear repeatedly, year after year, month after month, you talking negatively about your body, you not eating the same foods that they eat, you constantly going on a diet. These are all things that have a cost, right? There's a negative impact of dieting. Now, I want to take this personal. I'm going to tell you some things that I've been having to work through for the last several years to even be able to feel comfortable sharing them, because the cost of dieting, yes, it was financial. Yes, I developed deep disordered eating. Yes, it had an impact on my children. Yes, it slowed down my metabolism, but there's some other costs. There's some other costs that we need to be aware of when we think about the years we're devoting to dieting. So I'm going to share 4 that I've personally been working through, and they've been part of my intuitive eating journey. They've been part of my healing, and I'm at a much better place with almost all of them. So the first cost was really how much shame I was carrying with me. Shame that I couldn't stick with it. Shame that I gained so much weight. Shame that I was feeling like I'm such a great inspiration to other women, and then I felt like a failure. That one hit so hard. Thankfully, that was one of the first that I worked through when going through intuitive eating, and you really focused on rejecting diet mentality. It did help me release a lot of those thoughts. It helped me see the cost that dieting and disordered eating and the constant pursuit of weight loss, like what it had done. Now, I want to tell you before I even go on to the other ones, I do have this opportunity for you to experience rejecting the diet mentality, working with me, and helping you let go of dieting. If you didn't catch it last week, I opened up a free module in my group coaching for you. There's women who already went in. You're able to access everything that my group coaching clients get to access in module 1, which is Reject the Diet Mentality. All of the audios, the tasks, the handouts, the worksheets, like everything's in there so that you can have a taste of what it's like to work with me in group coaching, because group coaching enrollment is opening up for January. Because I believe you're here listening to this podcast to say, I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know what else to do. I don't want to diet, but I don't know what to fill in the space when I'm not dieting. So I opened that up so that you could even come in, start working through module 1, get a feel for working with me, and then enroll in January. So head into the show notes. You can even pause the episode right here, scroll down, enroll in the free module, come on in. I'll send you the invitation. It is completely free. And then we can talk about what it would look like if you had access to all of the modules and you actually had time with me to have coaching each and every week. All right, let's go back into what I was sharing because I don't want to end on shame. Again, thankfully, that was a huge help to me. The other one that I really felt like was a huge cost is I had become so focused on my body. I mean, think about that. Like from the first diet, why do we diet? We think there's something wrong with our body. Now we may, if we can go all the way back there, and I'm going to go all the way back to the age of 17 for me. And yes, I was focused on my body, but like very little. Yeah, I was focused on my thighs mostly because I had this nickname. Don't like it, didn't like it then, and I can see the damage it did. I was called Thunder Thighs. I've always had, bigger thighs, and it was like something like affectionately called, but it wasn't affectionate. It wasn't endearing. It actually did harm because over time I became so focused on my thighs and the dieting, the restriction I started at 17, like I'm just going to have a shake for breakfast. I'm going to try to eat less. I became more and more and more focused on my thighs. Oh my gosh, like even thinking about it now, like it really had this huge impact on me. Then I became more focused on my entire body. Dieting and definitely entering into disordered eating keeps you so hyper focused on your body. It's amazing how much less I think about my body as an intuitive eater. Like, it actually blows my mind sometimes. Of course, I get dressed, I see my body. I have very like neutral thoughts most of the time. And even when I have a negative thought creep in, I can kind of just let it go. I have those tools. I can move on because I'm no longer hyper focused on my body. So take a moment for yourself and think about how much you think about your body. If you are dieting, if you're thinking about going on that next diet, if you've been a dieter, like how much you think about your body. With orthorexia, I can tell you it was overwhelming. It was every inch. It was literally every inch, from my fingers to my face, to my breasts, to my hips, my stomach. I've had 4 C-sections, and I was obsessive about where I had been cut open 4 times. Like, I was like, I can't get rid of this. I can't get rid of this. What am I going to do? Should I have surgery? Like, I was so focused all the time. Even at my smallest, I could not let it go. That's the cost of dieting and disordered eating. All right, I want to share 2 more with you. So another one, and this one's definitely something I'm living with, but I'm better with: injury. And again, this is definitely part of the orthorexia. I was obsessively working out. I was working out like 2 to 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. And even my rest days, oh my gosh, obsessively checking my Apple Watch, make sure I close all my rings. Like, I couldn't let anything go. Now, you might not be in that realm. I hope you're not. But if you are, first of all, I want you to know I hear you and I see you. Like, I get it. Unfortunately, what happened is I could not work out. Like, I couldn't let it go. I worked through pain and injury, right? There's, all this wellness culture, no excuses, never miss a Monday. What was that whole saying about, pain and, it was fat leaving the body. Like, there was horrible things I said to myself that I bought into, that I listened to from others, and it damaged areas of my body that I have to live with. I recently just had a thermography scan. I am in love with this type of scan. So much safer on the body. I am very grateful for the opportunity to have done this. And when the sweet girl doing the scan saw my right shoulder and the inflammation and what's going on in there, she was like, you okay? No, I'm not okay. I knew I had done damage. I kept working through it. I kept lifting heavier, heavier, heavier. I've done some severe damage to my sciatic nerve. I'm laughing. I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm like, Jen, what were you thinking? Like, this was what happened. I worked my body to the point of complete injury. And I really feel like, when things happen, it's our body's way of saying, hey, you might need to slow down. Hey, you might need some rest days. And it goes from gentle to aggressive. I ignored all of it. I ignored the gentle warnings. I ignored the aggressive warnings. I can remember when I had really done some damage to my sciatic nerve, and I saw my amazing friend, she's a chiropractor, and really did help readjust things enough, because I was like, well, I got to get back in the gym. I've got to get back in the gym. I've missed 2 days. I got to get back in the gym. And then even then I was like, well, I can just do upper body until this feels better. I can just do upper body. I mean, I'm telling you, of course, my personal story. It was obsessive. It was not healthy, and yet being praised constantly. So now, yes, I'm living with some injuries. Yes, I'm living with some things in my body that still hurt because of that. I'm not letting that negatively impact me today, but it is something that I have as a cost of dieting, focusing on my weight, disordered eating. All right, one more that I'm still dealing with. It's better. It's not better. I wish it was. Things you can't see. And I had no idea that hormonally I would wreck myself. So my thyroid, used to be normal, used to be okay, and it is not. I've been working for the last couple of years. I've changed doctors a few times. So part of it is I don't want to go to a doctor who's going to tell me to lose weight, who's going to put me on a scale, who's going to focus on that and not actually get to the root cause, get to what's going on. I'm very grateful. I have finally found that doctor, and I've been doing a lot of work on helping my thyroid. I've been doing a lot of work on helping my cycle because my hormones, everything went so bonkers. I wasn't eating enough. I was pushing myself to the limit. There are things happening inside like you can't see. Like you can't see your metabolism slowing down, but it's happening. You can't see that there's these other internal negative impacts of dieting, but it's happening. If you think about it, there's recently, all this talk about gut protocols and heal your gut. And you want to know why there's gut issues. There's intestinal, issues going on. People are having all these digestive things going on. Do you want to know what one of the leading issues that causes all of these? It's dieting. It's dieting. I've called it out on social media. Beachbody, I talk about them. I don't know why. I just do. They set themselves up for me to point out this ridiculousness. They sell you on this program. You're restricting all of your food, putting it in containers. They have you drinking this god-awful shake, right? You're having all of this. And then they sell you on a gut protocol now because they're realizing all of their members are having all these issues in their digestive system. This is ludicrous, but this is what's happening. And I'll also just point out, it's another trend. It's another freaking trend. And it sounds good. Wellness culture always sounds good, right? Heal your gut. You ever thought about why the heck does my gut have so many issues? Well, wellness culture, of course, tells you it's because you eat processed foods. I'm going to flip them off. I'm getting real sassy on this recording today. Anyway, take a moment. Do an inventory for yourself. Do an inventory for yourself. What is the cost of dieting been for you? You can look at it financially. That might make you have a moment like we did at the beginning and take a lot of deep breaths. It might be the impact it's had on your children. You might notice, I have a feeling my metabolism is just completely shot. I for so long, I didn't put enough wood on the fire. There's no kindling. There's nothing. It's barely got a flame. And it's because I've restricted for so long. Maybe you're like me and you've dealt with the shame. Maybe you're feeling so unbelievably focused on your body all the time. And you think it's because you're supposed to think about your body all the time. I'm just hitting my microphone. See, I'm so wired. You think you're supposed to think about your body? No, I don't believe that at all. Maybe you're like me and it's post-injury. There's internal things going on. I want you to know it's not you. I want you to hear from me, your friend Jen. It's not you. It's this pressure, these ideals that we think we have to live by to lose weight, to be in a smaller body. We give everything, our time, our money, our energy, our health and well-being. There's a difference between focusing on your health, your well-being, your overall wellness, and focusing on your weight. And I'm here to tell you, I can help with that part. It's hard to stop focusing on your weight. I don't lie about that. It is hard to stop focusing on that being how you define your health. But I can tell you it's possible. Now, you might want to hop in, do the Reject Diet Mentality module. You might say, I want that, but I know I need more. Enrollment will be opening for group coaching. If you aren't on the wait list even, I just want to encourage you to get on that wait list. I have so many things coming. I want to help you go from, I don't know what to eat, I'm so stressed around food, I feel guilty all the time, or maybe it was completely obsessive, like I don't even know what to do anymore when it comes to my body and my health. I want to take you from that place into this place where it is more peaceful. it is this place where you actually eat foods you enjoy. You don't feel overwhelm and stress and guilt. And you feel healthier. Like you really do feel healthier because you are healthier. It's amazing how when you look at data on intuitive eaters and how they experience like greater life satisfaction, not just in their health, overall life satisfaction, I think that is so telling. All right, I'm done with the sass for today. This was definitely something I worked up some courage to just put it out there because it's something that's real and raw and personal to me. I hope that it spoke to you. I hope I see you come into that free module. And of course, I hope to see you in group coaching this January. And most of all, I hope to see you living in this place of peace and wellness. All right, ladies, until next week.